I'm Isyander.
And I'm Coda.
And today we're going to be answering a question I get all the time.
What is that?
Effectively, it just boils down to, why does the Imperium keep shooting itself in the foot?
A modicum of reasons, I assume. Mostly not self-loathing, but very self-centered individuals and their higher-ups.
Yeah, but...
Considering the last series of videos were literally just about the Inquisition putting their own pettiness over the well-being of everybody else in the Imperium.
But it's less the internal ones, because we all see that, and more the questions like, hey, they currently worship a man dying on a throne that was built using Eldar technology. Why don't you get the best medics who also happen to be Eldar to help you out with that?
Yeah.
Or why doesn't the Imperium bother to work with the Tau when... I mean, like, I don't want to be mean to Tau fans. I really don't. But, like, compared to the Tyranids, the Tau are a hippie commune.
Yeah. Why do we send the same force into the Tau that we do into the Tyranids?
They've
it
had
doesn't
multiple
make any sense.
Named crusades sent their way.
Especially
they don't need that.
Especially since the Tau every time just come back at them like, "Hey, pal,
yeah, like,
want to try discussion?
Well,
want to maybe chat it out?
Well, it's less like want to chat it out, or more like want to chat it out. It's like a railgun is fired at you from like way too far away. Because you got to remember, a lot of Tau weapons are, what's that glint in the dead?
Yeah.
Immediately.
Yeah.
Or like just the fact that the Necrons and the Eldar have a beef older than time. And that is just something the Imperium could use, and they've definitely observed it before, where they'll be fighting the Eldar and the Necron will appear, and suddenly it'll feel like...
They're not paying as much attention to me as they used to.
We're not the focus anymore. We won that too easily.
I feel left out.
Right? And so it is...
Are they cheating on me?
Kind of, it is that feeling. And so a lot of that just boils down to something we've covered, kind of, but never really dived into, which is just Imperial propaganda.
Imperial propaganda?
Yes. Imperial propaganda is why the Imperium, at almost any given moment, can always be caught sticking one in their mouth while another's pointed at their foot, ready to fire at the same time. They are... it is, to call them the snake eating his own tail is a compliment.
Yeah.
The Imperium is so barely functional sometimes.
Yeah.
And the propaganda is a big part of that. It's a big part of why they don't take the obvious out in a lot of these cases, with the exception of Chaos, because good luck.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to reason with Chaos. It's kind of in the name.
It's the one where I get why they use such visceral propaganda, because...
Don't they use well, actually, with the advent of big crack in sky, I assume they would have to start telling Imperial citizens about Chaos.
Which brings us to the one, well, not the one, but one of my favorite bits of Imperial propaganda we have, like, fresh off the presses, which is the Imperial Infantryman's Uplifting Primer.
I was going to say, the propaganda of the Imperium might have something to do with this book that is slightly... hidden from camera?
Yeah, well, that's my beverage. So leave. Yes, the Imperial Infantryman's Uplifting Primer. It is...
We need like if we're going to keep doing this, we need a book stand.
Well, it's going to move. The thing about this book, the reason I chose it in specific is because there is no narrator. There is no perspective. There is no overarching narrative. This book is printed like it is what's given to every Guard member when you start, and it's printed like it.
That is a book that is literally ripped out of the canon of 40K and into the real world.
I've talked about the concept of kayfabe all the time and how it's like, you don't break it. This book does not break it.
Yeah.
Like, even the publishing information is first the, like, 41st Millennium Press and all that stuff. And then, like, at the very bottom, you'll see a Games Workshop and all that stuff. Like, the real authors are, like, on the bottom half of the page, and at the top is all like department.
It's all in canon, in universe, publishing companies.
It's so good. And the thing about this book is, I mentioned it, a little over a year ago when we did a Guard episode, And
I think that's what inspired, because this was sent in by a fan, wasn't it?
Yes.
That video is what was inspired them to send it in to us.
Yes. It is out of print, unfortunately. And the neat thing about it is they do actually update it. Like the sections we're going to cover today, there's updated variants. Like there's a Damocles Gulf variant of this that has more stuff on the Tau. Because that's the crusade they got sent their way.
Yeah, they had
Of course they're going to add more.
They had to special print new handbooks for, like, here's who you're fighting.
Yes, but at the time I didn't think I'd ever get the book because it's out of print and it's expensive. But a fan saw that and was under the single condition that we make an episode on it. He sent it my way, and that was very, very kind. And it's kind of one of my favorite moments from doing this. And so I'm finally fulfilling that, and I'm going to fulfill it even more because this is going to be one of many on this book.
What do you mean, one of many?
Because there's so much in here. There's so much in here. There's a whole subsection on punishments. And it's long.
Okay.
It's very funny. I love that one. Today we're only going to be covering the know your enemy portion. Because, it's so good. It's so good.
Again, I do remember from the Guardsman video us talking about a couple passages in here that are very... They don't portray their enemies very accurately to the Guard.
Well, you're going to see as we go, it's super duper wrong in some ways. And then there's little gems here and there of like, you had to include that. Otherwise, every Guardsman you send would die. And so that's the thing I like about this book. It's a very good, frank look at the propaganda that's offered because this is the propaganda that's offered de facto. In fact, this is pretty light. This is what's given to the military going to the front lines and seeing this stuff.
Yeah.
So, like, in the grand scheme of things, you have to think, if this is what the military is getting, what are civilians getting? I would love a TV station that is just some Imperial backwater. And you just see how, like, you know, they usually present things like from the big man in charge's perspective, like Gilliman looking at the map of planet lost, planet lost, planet lost, planet lost, planet lost, planet lost, and then it zooms out and you see just that massive crack going through the galaxy, and Gilliman just...
You can see a vein pop out of his head.
Right?
It breaks skin and suddenly you just see...
I would love the perspective of the Rube 5, like the Rube in like Forsyth, where there's just there's no way they're getting the truth. Like they're so far away from everything. There's no way. I would love that to be the way we get some dispatches occasionally.
I think we would see less propaganda and more man-made horrors beyond our comprehension. I think we would see the walled city of Kowloon, but like planet-sized.
I think they'd spin. I think the Tyranids have won barely, but we'll manage. And so that's why, if there ever was a time to reprint this, now that there's a crack in the sky, I would love a like Indomitus variant of this. And this, not only to depress prices so other people can get them, because come on, it's so good and it's a shame that it's so rare.
Yeah.
And also because I don't want one, but I want...
You have one.
I would love an Indomitus one.
Because
I'm wondering, how do they spin the crack in the sky?
Gilliman walks onto on camera the same way Captain America does in that one movie. So, you see that screaming void in the sky, don't you?
It does make noise.
We're going to talk about that.
and I know this book would change a lot because this one is a little dated and how it talks about the current things happening. And so I'd love to see the changes going on now about, we're taking on this Ultramar pattern of stuff, and our Lord and Savior Gilliman has returned, and that kind of stuff. I really would like to see how it has changed to be more reflective of modern times.
Yeah.
While still, like, this book, when it came out, Tyranids hadn't eaten Space Marines yet.
No?
That's just a thing that's happened now. And you now have weirdly hardy Tyranids.
Is this pre-Gilliman waking up? Okay.
Yeah. This is pre-Damocles Gulf. This is before that even.
Do you think that a modern handbook would be at least a little bit hopeful considering Gilliman has woken up, or no?
Well, let me tell you right now, this book is hopeful.
Okay.
It's already hopeful, and the Tau aren't mentioned in it.
Oh.
So they're hopeful way back. Way back. They have no idea what's coming.
They don't know what's,
to catch up for those of you that don't know, Guardsmen are exactly what you think, man. They are the foot soldiers. They are the front lines. They are the beach softeners.
They are the gum in that tank's treads.
If the Imperium is this machine that is kept going by just these massive gears constantly turning, they're the fluid in between. And that requires them to be ground into a fine paste, which they do regularly.
And then
regularly.
And then emulsified into a liquid.
There is this book that in one specific battlefield, this isn't the actual lifespan for your average guardsman, but in one specific battlefield, it can get so bad that 15 hours from when you land.
That was 13.
No, it's 15 until you die. That is how low. That is, you get there.
That's your life.
Hey,
that's your life.
Fight one battle, you probably die.
Yeah.
They don't even bother learning your name. You'll be gone. It is rough. It is very tumble, but it's also kind of every military ever. You know, it has the drawbacks of every military ever.
Yeah.
Where, like, at best, you're bored. At raw best, you are bored. Shooting at something, maybe, to keep your aim up. That's it. And at worst, dead. At worst, just dead. Like, you know.
And the entire time, your platoon leader, your captain, your I don't know military ranks, please don't bite my head off, is sitting there forcing you to stay awake. And all I can think of is there's this one video that was viral a couple years ago of somebody describing, I've got a 24-hour just like night watch shift, and it's like hour 3 and he's just like jamming, and then hour 24 he's dancing at the camera, just like helmet off, putting lipstick on and swirling it around his face.
You get deranged quick when you're out of sleep. You can manage it, but I don't recommend it. Over here in this book, actually, they do have a punishment for falling asleep on your post.
Really?
Death.
Yeah, I'd assume it's death.
It's death.
I'd assume the punishment for most things is death.
No. I think it's cowardice that gets you starved to death.
Oh, so specifically starved to death.
Yeah.
Not just death, but death by snoo-snoo.
There are so many.
Well,
you think I'm kidding? There's a chapter for it.
There's
a chapter. The thing I like the most about it is, for all the stuff in here, there is a lot of truly, like, somebody read some of the handbooks you get day one when you're drafted to write this, because there's kind of a lot of useless stuff in here. Like, it has everything that an Imperial Guardsman would have in their rucksack. You know what I mean? It takes it very seriously.
It's got like if you were to quantify the average like Marine's rucksack into a D&D inventory.
Yes, it has all of that. It has what you like. Command structures are really well written out here, though again I don't know how relevant they are now per se.
Things may have shifted a little bit.
Just a little bit, you know. You
do have Big Bobby G at the top.
Big Bobby. Yeah, you have the head G string in charge, so like it's definitely changed a bit, but I'm sure the fundamentals are still kind of there. Your commissar says jump, you don't even ask how high, you just leap and hope you're right. And so this book does a phenomenal job of answering the question, how does the Imperium keep finding people to feed to Tyranids? Because that's effectively what's been happening for a little bit here.
A little bit of Starship Troopers, service guarantees citizenship. I'm doing my part.
No, service is your birthright. It doesn't guarantee you anything. It's what you were made to do.
I see, yeah.
Like, there's a whole section here on the glory of the human form and its perfection. Like, I didn't mention this. This is like real propaganda.
The what?
This is how do I phrase this? The authors clearly looked to history, saw what we'll call the classics, and figured they'd still work in the 41st millennium. Yeah. So it's not the kind of propaganda that we're bathed in today, for example, where if you open any device right now, it's candidate X is the Antichrist. Candidate Y will do X, you know? Like, it's not that at all. This is which, by the way, there are 2 machines somewhere working overtime right now. Because even if you're not in the U.S., you know exactly what I'm talking
absolutely.
about. That's a promise. So there are 2 robots somewhere just kind of duking it out.
Either robots or just like
swaths of interns.
A room full of interns.
Yeah. So if not several rooms on one floor of a building full of interns. It's not the pleasant propaganda that we're used to today. It's the kind of stuff that you would
pleasant.
What else can you call it? It's there. I open my phone right now and I'm learning a new fact about someone's campaign.
I would call it
That's a fact.
Polite propaganda, and I use polite loosely because propaganda back in the day used to have hands.
Well, this one really does. Like ad hominem is the name of the game. Dehumanization is right.
Yeah.
Which also brings up the quandary of, is it dehumanizing if they're literally not human? Which is a video in and of itself. I think for me personally, if you can reason with it, it's worth some respect.
Well, okay, we've kind of had this discourse happen, or at least I've watched several video essays, and I've read several, like, not dissertations is the wrong word, but just regular essays about Starship Troopers, because I genuinely just like sci-fi stuff. And you know, the big bad in Starship Troopers is just the bugs, right?
The bugs.
Even though they're bugs, there's a level of dehumanization. It's different. It's not just like dehumanization. It's like that thing doesn't have a soul. That is the antithesis of all life. Kill it now.
You have hit the nail on the head. That is exactly what you're going to hear as we cover this.
It's
on top of that, it's
not just that it's not human. It's just like it
is the antithesis. It is to like this is to hate goodness, effectively.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the kind of stuff you're going to hear. You're going to hear, I think it's the Eldar who are described as naturally shifty-eyed, cowardly by nature, and impure. When I said the classics, I meant the classics.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's starting to touch on like too real right there.
Oh, dude, I'm telling you, like, hold on, let me find the section on the human, there's a medical section, because, like, obviously you are in a combat zone. You should know the basics of medicine. Everybody
needs to be a combat medic because, listen, we can't distribute one or two around here. It's just the
sheer level of danger around you. Me, in my day-to-day life, it's nice for me to know how to deal with somebody who is going into shock. Me going into combat, that's a necessity.
That's a necessity.
Prerequisite. Because someone will be going into shock around me.
Yeah.
Probably every day.
You should at least probably know where everybody's individual big arteries are. Yeah. So if you need to tie something off.
And I do like that because there is, like, they do genuinely have solid medical tips in here. Like, I'm not joking when they say somebody read, I know we have some veterans who watch. I know we have some active service members who watch. I'd love to just send them some of the scans from this and have them compare it to some of the stuff they've gotten, because this feels so close.
Yeah.
In some ways.
One of our patrons sent us some Air Force flash. I have yet to put it on my laptop, and I apologize for that. It's around here on the set somewhere. I wonder if, like, maybe there is just a U.S. infantryman's handbook.
Well, here's the thing about the U.S.
Somebody could send us, if it's not like...
please. If you do, please. That's an episode.
If that's allowed, could you send us one?
I don't want to say if it's allowed or not. I'm just going to say an episode will appear. That's what I'm going to say.
And we'll just hope that men with suits or men in suits do not appear at our door.
Let me change that because I do not want to receive the floor plan to the Pentagon. I don't need that.
Yeah, please. I don't want a War Thunder situation.
No, I'd rather not have a War Thunder situation. This keeps showing up.
Yeah.
It's just at my door. And
I did ask for this.
Too
somebody sent it to me to prove a point. Yeah. I don't necessarily
I've always
need it.
maintained I don't need that. I know I have an agent. I know he's probably pretty cool. I don't need him working overtime, you know? But the difference I would say between, like, the U.S. Infantryman's Handbook and like this is because I doubt the U.S. one is going to say the human body is a paradigm of perfection and purity. This is the medical section. That's what a pelvis looks like. That's what a skull looks like. And it says its makeup is an example to all lesser creatures and races. And be assured, all other creatures are less than human.
Whoa.
That is our place as dominators of the galaxy. This is right and just.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I really did pull from the classics for this one.
Yeah, it is therefore correct, and of the highest calling, you should use your body as a weapon with which to fight those lesser creatures.
I was going to ask if this got into phrenology. That answers my question right for me.
Well, it's the kind of phrenology where it's like the Eldar have different skulls.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's the bones are still there. Like, even when they're mentioning, like, this is the section.
It comes from the same place. It may be speaking a different language now, but it's the same thing.
It's not full Measurehead from Disco, but at times, like,
it's getting close.
This section is just, that's your tibia. That's your femur. And the way it describes it is the human body is a framework of hard bone, flawless in proportion and form. And when they're describing each section of the body, it's like the bones keep us upright and give us our perfect aspect, shape. We have 206 bones, and that is why there are 206 stanzas in the Catechism of the Sacred Form, which, by the way, there's a prayer subsection. There's a prayer for everything. There's a prayer for the emperor, the prayer for adulation to the emperor. There's a prayer for good aim. There's a prayer for reloading. There's a prayer to get someone smited that works.
Tell me now. I have somebody in mind.
It is spirits of the machine, reward my faith and smash the target.
Smash the target. That's an awesome prayer right
there. There's a litany of accuracy.
More prayers need to have the word smash in them.
I'm telling you right now, you could be doing your timing belt. There's an ode to timing. You could say the litany of accuracy, the chant of accuracy, the prayer and litany of smiting, and probably kill something. If you're a sister.
Listen. I have so many issues with my computer. Hand that book to me right now. I need to study.
There's a litany of cleanliness. There are so many of this. There's a litany to staunch a wound. There's a litany to of the vacuum.
Imagine you get your arm blown off. You have like veins spitting, you have arteries spitting, and then somebody walks up to you and goes, hamana, 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 starts reciting a prayer instead of like, tourniquet me.
The litanies are supposed to be used while you tourniquet someone. There's a section on actually how to do a tourniquet. And that's accurate. That's just how you do a tourniquet. And I love this because it extols the virtues of humanity and how perfect we are and how your bones matter, don't break them. Your muscles matter, make them big. There's a lot of fluids running around. The red one, watch out for the red one. All the others are fine, but the red one, you don't want that one leaving you in too vast of a quantity.
Yeah.
And then they will
What is it? 2 pints and you have a problem?
Yes, and then they'll go on to like...
Actually, how much do you have in you? I can't remember.
Passively mention a bunch of stuff.
It's like 6, right?
I don't know. They'll passively mention a bunch of stuff like, oh, if you're burned, oh, trench foot, oh, this, oh, that, right?
Oh,
and then...
We're still dealing with trench foot in the 41st millennium?
Yeah. Guardsmen have feet. They wind up in trenches. There's no like vaccination against that, dude. It's just my feet are wet and dank in a trench.
I remember like I think it was mid Cold War. We were having problems with trench foot and just general like the cold getting into people's boots. And I swear, I remember like the U.S. put a frankly stupid amount of money into making the perfect boot, and then nobody got trench foot ever again.
No, I think you still get trench foot.
Oh. I guess active service members, you're not in trenches anymore, but please let us know, do you still get trench foot?
We've been fighting in really hot and dry places, so we stopped
Wouldn't
fighting.
that make it worse because sweat?
Again,
because the problem is water, isn't it?
The problem is vast quantities of water, and you're just stuck there for a while, you know? Whereas modern wars, you don't really have... The ones the U.S. has been involved in, you don't really have that, you know? Maybe any of the other fronts happening right now, maybe, but not as far as I know, we don't.
Yeah, I guess this would be a question for people who are currently fighting in the
our service members' keyboards are going to get used.
Current Russian-Ukraine front.
Okay, I don't think we have any. I promise you now, I don't think we have. They have far larger concerns.
Yeah, they do.
They have far larger concerns. I promise you now, we don't have anyone from that front. I will tell you that for free.
Well, maybe. Didn't we have like several hundred, maybe a couple thousand volunteers rush over there as soon as it started?
Yeah. Maybe. We'll see. And so
if you're there, let us know. Do you still get trench points?
And so they list all this basic stuff that does exist, are medical conditions, and is fair.
Mm-hmm.
And then they give us a whole section on cowardice, which they treat as an affliction of the weak and the feeble-minded.
An affliction, you say?
Yes. It is a contagion that can strike down one man, exuding horrible symptoms of spinelessness. If you see anyone with the following symptoms or modes of behavior, alert the commissar. If one isn't available, carry out your duty.
Damn.
Stop the spread. Yeah. That's how they flatten the curve. Like that's how they do it. You just flatten the curve.
How's this for social distancing?
Yeah. A las gun is how they do it. Yeah. And then there's a section on loss of limbs. Because, like, dude.
Of course there is.
This stuff Guardsmen fight.
You're fighting the Orks, the
Mm-hmm.
Tyranids. I don't know if the Necrons would dismember you. Would they?
It's more like my arm dissolved.
Yeah.
It's more like my arm dissolved.
Would that instantly cauterize it, or?
I think so.
Okay.
We haven't had anyone hit by a laser beam yet, big enough to do that. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe the Eldar, too. Especially the Dark Eldar.
Well,
I assume the Dark Eldar. No,
No, it's just speed. It's just like...
Yeah, they'd off you too quickly.
It is the equivalent of just, I've been hit by a freight train wielding a katana.
Yeah.
You know? Where... Well, it's more of a bullet train wielding a katana. I can't react to this in any way, and this is incredibly painful, but only after it's happened.
Would it be painful? I think it would happen so fast you wouldn't be able to react.
That's why I said only after it's happened. You know? But yeah, so let's get into that's just a warm-up. Let's get into the know your foe and how these people are prepared for their enemies.
I assume either not very well or in way too confident a manner.
Some of column A, some of column B.
Okay.
But before we get into that, it is poll season. Next week, the winners will start rolling out, and the options are the Titans, the Servitors, the Schola Progenia, and the Warp itself. Somehow we have yet to do a topic on it.
Literally somehow.
I have no idea.
Again, we've done Chaos, but...
Yeah, and we also have a Patreon where you can get twice as many episodes, such as the one where I just lied to Coda for a whole hour. It was really fun. It was very enjoyable. It was very fun. And also, our longest episode ever.
Yeah, de facto. I looked after that got uploaded, which, by the way, I was tired. I had to pull a full all-nighter to get that video out. But it's the longest video we have ever done.
Yep. You get access to the Discord. You get access to live streams. You get access to the Q&As, which are always fun. Bonus episode, as well as a bunch of other stuff, all while helping us keep all these lights on, because we don't have soundstage money.
Yeah. Not yet, at least.
Not yet.
Yeah.
No, I don't know what I'd do with it.
Make a soundstage?
Yeah, but I feel like there'd be far too... Like, I would do the walk through a wall at least once if I had the ability to.
What do you mean?
If I have the soundstage, I'm building a fake wall and walking through it at least once. I don't know how to justify that, but maybe an Angron episode is how I'm going to justify it. But yeah.
Just bursting through a wall, commercial style.
Yes. And so you get all of that and more by heading on over to patreon.com/Isyander and Coda. And now let us begin to know your enemy. Starting with the Orks.
This is going to be fun.
Well, they're described as an unworthy foe. A little more than an animal, which that last part is almost
technically true.
Almost correct.
I mean, they're a fungus, which isn't really an animal or a plant.
They're described as about as basal as plants, and they are slow-witted, which that is fairly accurate,
true.
Right? The problem is they then say this will cause no problems for a well-trained infantryman.
That's just a lie.
It says that they are easily confused by loud noises and sudden movement.
Doesn't that just make them angrier? That just makes them fight harder.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen an orc just squish a Krieger.
It's not going to give anyone trouble. Don't worry about it.
No trouble. No squish.
It does tell them that orcs do live to fight, and this is true. Though it adds the addendum, they have little skill at this.
again, maybe technically true, but it doesn't matter. The drunken fist is still...
I would say they have skill at it. Have you seen any of the large portraits of Orc Waz?
Yeah.
There's some skill happening there, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's still impressive, just not...
They're still good at hitting you with the big bonk stick.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And so they do say that the only people who'd struggle against the orcs are the untrained and weak-willed, which Space Marines struggle against them.
Yeah.
And
maybe they're just untrained and weak-willed Space Marines.
And while it does call out they are easy to predict, despite the fact that they're...
easy to predict?
They are. I mean, orcs are just going to run at you.
Well... The Necrons are big prediction engines, and they have one guy that can figure them out.
Yes, because like that one guy's overthinking the solution. You know, he's very much so like I will. Like the reason other Necrons suck against the orcs is I will bait them out, and then I'll go here, and then I'll go here, and they're just not expecting the orcs to run forward. There's no logic at all.
They think that they're playing chess, but
they're eating the chessboard.
The orcs are actually just playing checkers, and they're eating your king as they speak.
Yes, like your average guardsman could probably do a decent job predicting what like your grunt orc is about to do.
Straight line from them to us.
Right, and so they say that there are a lot of orcs in the galaxy, but all that means is more shooting. It also adds the addendum that they are cowards.
That, again, just a straight up lie.
Yes, and that you can add confusion to their ranks by using a flamer, as its bright light will terrify them. Now, to be fair, that is the weapon you want to use against orcs.
They are fungus.
They are fungus. It'll burn out every single bit of them. Good strategy. It will not scare them away.
No. Brother, get the flamer. The heavy flamer.
They seem to be heavily muscled, but it's not as dense as a human. Don't worry about it. It claims in actuality they're considerably weaker than the average man, with useless eyes and teeth that are not sharp. Even if they are those tusks, you can just tug them out.
Did they... What do they think this is preparing the guardsmen for?
I just need to get the guardsmen there. You must remember, a lot of Imperial strategy is first assault, success, 5 trillion dead.
This is barely enough information and training to fight a classroom of 5-year-olds.
No, again, this is helpful. It tells you use a flamer when you see them. It tells you there will be a lot of them. Don't worry. Just shoot at them. And even if they look bigger than you, I promise you they're not that strong, bro. And I'll be honest, what's the point of telling a guardsman that thing is stronger than you? Because if it gets close enough to exercise that strength, the guardsman was dead anyway.
Fair enough.
They were charged. If an orc can touch you, you're dead. You're dead. Unless you're a Space Marine, you're dead. There's no need for the average guardsman
to know how to deal with them in close combat.
Fully out. Like there's no way a human is beating an orc in melee. Period. Unless you have a name. Like Yarick probably might.
Yeah.
You know. But
hasn't he done that?
We haven't done an episode on the life and times of of Yarick yet, so we'll save that for that. But I mean, other than that, your average
big
guardsman
claw arm nowadays has to provide at least a little bit of an advantage.
But yeah, your average guardsman, they don't need to know that. And genuinely, it does help when you tell them, oh, they have tiny useless eyes. Orc eyes are useful. They just don't aim. And so it's all there to like.
I believe I have infinite ammunition. I believe that I put the infinite ammo code cheat code in.
Yeah.
So therefore, DACA.
Exactly. And so this is kind of all to big up them while giving them the bare minimum needed. Like if you listen to a lot of this, it's not wrong. It's just not the full picture. You can use this to succeed against orcs. I mean, a big thing they say is shoot the big ones. No matter what, shoot the big ones. I don't care how many little ones are coming your way. Shoot the big ones.
Just go down. It's a flow chart. Just take the biggest one and then shoot that one, and then take the next biggest one and then shoot that one.
With a flamer. And truly, you can succeed that way. But they're not. They're leaving out the fact that, like, for example, the war boss isn't any harder than a regular orc. Its size just makes it an easier target. A single shot to the face will drop a war boss. Is what this claims. War bosses have been carved in half and still kept raging.
Gaz is just a head now, isn't he? Attached to a...
he's a full body.
Okay.
Bigger than ever. I think it's like 5 orcs stitched together plus his.
Didn't his head need to be reattached, though?
Yeah.
So he was just a head for a second there.
Yeah, for a couple minutes, yeah.
And...
Again, like, if you're... The theory here is if we tell every guardsman to aim for the head of an orc, the single lasgun won't do it. But about 1 million of them aimed at that one spot might.
Yeah.
And if it's not, they're all dead anyway. We charged them the moment they left here.
Yeah.
So we just need to get them out there. So a lot of this is very like, you're expendable. I don't care. Like, you are a resource to be spent. And I will spend you because I have to.
Yeah.
Oh, no, because I want to. There's no have to.
It's so weird. This is like, you can visibly see that this is a quantity over quality kind of production style. But usually... that kind of philosophy is applied to products, to things, to items, not to people.
Well, that's what happens to these. They're told that once an orc sees you with a loud lasgun and a smile on your face, you can shoot them in the back as they run away. And
has a guardsman ever even seen the back of an orc?
Yeah, I was going to say, in the history of the entire Imperium, I don't think a single orc has ever run from a guardsman. Not once.
Listen, there could be a happy face on the back of an orc, and I don't think a guardsman would ever know.
Now, to be fair, a good chunk of veterans it's joked that this is toilet paper. Like, in canon, it is a joke that this is great kindling, this is great toilet paper, this is not useful information. Your best bet as a real guardsman is to find the guy with the grayest hair on this battlefield and just start writing over everything this book says.
Just listen to that guy.
Yes, because this is real good to wipe with, according to guardsmen.
And we're going to show that No,
we are not. And so there are a good couple of guardsmen who recognize this. But also, when it hits a fan, some start dropping litanies.
When you got nothing else, start praying.
And you have to remember, some people do genuinely believe this because it has worked. Like, I shot at the orc war boss and it died. Now, the thing they're missing is all of us plus our Baneblades did it. But I shot at the orc war boss and it died.
Listen, I can see the argument for, like, give them the confidence to do the right thing, but like, don't tell them what's going to happen when they get it wrong.
Yeah.
And then hopefully they just do the right thing.
Don't tell them the orcs have weird weapons that shouldn't work, but just tell them their weapons frequently misfire.
I believe that I put in the infinite ammo glitch code, so therefore...
Yeah, but, like, the Mechanicum hasn't figured that out yet. That's something you know. They don't. They just...
Oh, yeah. I forget. I am a person who exists outside of the canon in 40K.
That's the thing I love about this. That is an answer.
Thank God, by the way.
Yeah, they haven't answered that question, so they just say, their weapons misfire and jam. And honestly, odds are they'll be so engrossed in the explosions and cracks leaving these weapons that barely work that they won't notice you creeping up behind them.
Again, in the history of 40K, has a guardsman ever seen the back of an orc?
It's possible if they're sneaking up on them. It is possible. Oh, and the only thing consistent about orcs is the instability of all their transports and gear, further proof of the aliens' instability. We have art of orc gargants wiping titans. That doesn't look unstable to me.
Nope.
That doesn't look unstable to me.
Nope.
But again, why do the Guard need to know that?
Now, to be fair, we also have in canon written observation of an orc ship just flying and stuff just falling off of it. I love that description in The Infant and the Divine where Trazyn and Orican are just flying behind 2 orc ships and they just ping, pong, ping as just bolts and chunks and bulkheads just ping off their shields.
Yeah, orc stuff shouldn't work. Only the people old enough to have been there since the beginning recognize what the orcs are. For the humans, it's just... Well, that's a problem. But the guardsmen don't need to fully know that. Therefore, just ignore them.
Don't tell them.
Just don't tell them.
Tell them.
Section 2, the Tyranids.
I saw that, and I'm like, oh, I can't wait to cover this part.
The Tyranids? Yeah, this is the truth. They do travel in hives, but they're described as having the futile aim of wiping out all life from the universe. And I love this. Look at the glorious ranks of the Imperial Guard in which you belong, and know for certain they will fail. If they knew or had any conception of what kind of ordered fighting force they were facing, they would no doubt turn their vile ships around and go back to whence they came.
I could probably chalk this up to they don't know the Tyranids are a hive mind. Because we know the Tyranids are a hive.
Oh, no, that's mentioned later on. Oh, they're aware.
Never mind. They know. No, they know. That's just a lie.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a lie.
It's just a lie. I love it. They're described as numerous, but weak. What do you do when a parasite bites your flesh? You swat it dead. And that's what the Imperium is mobilizing to do to the Tyranid invasions.
I'd imagine, considering they're Tyranids, they probably have corrosive spit.
They don't tell them about that. They just tell them, hey, you don't want their blood touching you because it'll stain your uniform. Therefore, stay away from them.
Mm-hmm.
It's because of the stains. Not the fact that it'll eat clean through.
Yep.
The stains.
Yep.
Do you see how it'll give you the correct advice?
Just couched in the wrong...
How am I supposed to tell them, like,
level
okay, you dice it, it can burn through the tank you're calling home.
Yeah. It's
the big ones can burn through Titans at times.
It's the right thing, just like not stressing how important it is.
Yes. I love the way, this is how they get into the hive mind, where they say it's this hard thing to understand. Therefore, don't worry your head about it. It's not worth trying to understand. All you need to know is they are base alien creatures that cannot think for themselves. Unlike the noble mind of the Imperial soldier that functions autonomously within its command structure and only within its command structure, never break rank.
This is comedy gold right here.
I love
this is comedy gold.
Do you see why I desperately wanted this book and why I'm so infinitely thankful for it and why I want an Indomitus variant?
I think it would be very funny.
Yes. It describes their weapons as being formed out of their living tissue, which is true.
Yeah, that's true.
Apparently, they often fall apart.
Oh.
I'm gonna be honest.
No.
My arm's made of living tissue. Mm-hmm. Hadn't fallen apart yet.
Yeah. Luckily, I have not been afflicted with leprosy. That's cool.
Tyranids are very much so similar things.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Including the fact that their ammo is alive and will self-guide through you.
Ooh.
That's a thing.
Don't say that again. Thank you.
It's true. I love. It's just. They mention how subs do stand far taller than a man, but they're slow and cumbersome.
Wrong.
We've seen them outspeed Space Marines several times.
Yeah, you're wrong.
And then, all the little guys you see running around in between the legs of the massive ones, and all the hordes in the skies.
Termagants?
We'll get into the bioforms at some point, not today. And all the hordes in the sky that could block out the sun. Mm-hmm. Don't worry about them. They're small, clumsy. They don't do damage, and often they just trip the big guys. So don't even bother shooting at them. Yep. They posit that massed fire from such high technology as a lasgun will confuse Tyranid swarms and allow you to pick them off at will.
They are really just stroking this whole lasgun thing.
Yep. It's our beloved flashlight. It's the best we got.
Can't you throw that thing's magazine into fire and recharge it?
Mm-hmm. It's actually genuinely the lasgun, if brought today, would immediately render almost any nation a superpower.
Mm-hmm.
In a way that I think would only be outdone by nukes.
Yeah.
Just if a crate of lasguns came back today.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that doesn't really get across the strength of the lasgun. The strength of the lasgun is not that it's super super powerful. Ooh, it's a laser. Because in canon, we've just talked about the Tyranids guns that are just self-aiming and then will self-aim themselves through your body to get at your heart.
Yeah.
And now you have red laser. I think the strength of the lasgun is it's the same strength as the Ford Model T, where the Ford Model T is not a good car. It's very awful. But if your timing belt snaps, you can take off your own belt, wrap it around, and then just go.
Well, I think you're right in that way, because it is just dead reliable in a way AKs only wish they could be. But
not the timing belt. It's the accessory belt, but there's one accessory.
You must
it's a
remember,
fan for the cooler.
I don't think any modern armor, save for the stuff on like American tanks, can stand up to a lasgun. You'd have if somebody had a lasgun, they could just get us. It doesn't matter how many walls we put between. It's not weak at all. We need to do a lasgun episode.
No, it's not. It's not that it's weak.
Oh, and the fact that, don't forget, you can overcharge it. You can modify it to be a sniper. Like it is.
It's very
reliable,
versatile.
It is versatile, and it's not weak.
Yeah,
it's just outclassed.
It's not that it's not weak. It's outclassed in its own universe.
It's a flashlight. Jokingly,
if every other race in 40K was like on the same tier of the tech tree as them, or maybe even lower on the tech tree, it'd be fine. But everybody else seems to be further ahead on the tech tree.
Space Marines get really good guns. We just can't afford it. First of all, the average human can't fire a bolter without breaking something. Or dislocating something. Bolters are huge, right?
Yeah, they're like the size of our torso, are they not?
I don't know. They've been scaled properly, but they're big. They're very big. They fire comically big bullets. You couldn't manage, even if you could fire one, managing the recoil is a whole different skill set in and of itself.
Yeah.
The thing I like the most is they have to gas up the lasgun, because the alternative is creating a force of guardsmen who just hope and pray they see a Space Marine. You have to gas up the kit they have, otherwise they'll just be waiting on his angels, and they're not always there. Often, they're almost never there. They're very rare.
Yeah, they're like, what percentage of the actual human population?
Tiny, which is
minuscule.
Why you have to tell them that the Tyranid fleets are vermin.
You have a decimal point and then a couple zeros after.
Yeah, and it just I love it because it mentions how most of their claws are blunt. They couldn't cut through anything.
No.
And how they're not that heavily armored. Don't worry about it.
Just wrong.
Yeah. It's just, there's so much fun, wrong stuff in there.
It's just lies. It's so funny.
Yeah. But like, what are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
You tell them the truth and have them all run away scared?
Also, it is very incomplete. It doesn't list every single thing, which means that either they don't want the guardsmen to know, or this is before some new bioforms came out.
It was either before the new bioforms, or how are you going to explain the weird eldritch horrors beyond our comprehension that the Tyranids just are?
You don't. You can't.
You just don't.
So the Eldar get it fairly accurately, honestly.
Really?
Yes. There's also a bit of slander, but they do get it fairly accurately. They do mention how the Eldar are decadent, like that. That's pretty true.
Pretty accurate.
How they're pretty untrustworthy, which if you're dealing with Dark Eldar, pretty true. They're a pirate race. They're a dying race. They're fairly weak and helpless, which, I'm sorry, Eldar, but like, you are on the extinction list, you know? Like, you are an endangered species, you know? And they do positively delight in causing needless pain. So
they've only been exposed to the Dark Eldar.
They're lumping them all into the same category. Yeah. That's what's happening here, where they don't see the differences. Every Eldar looks the same. That's the argument they're making here. Where they don't bother to like make any differences between the craft world and the Dark Eldar. Eldar, because
I assume you could probably judge what kind of Eldar an Eldar is based on their level of clothedness. Like, that one is naked. It is a Dark Eldar. That one is mostly clothed, but it's a loincloth. That one is the Exodite. And that one is wearing robes, making sure that you can't even see their ankles. It's a craft world.
And some are dressed like pirates. Yarhar.
Or fiddle-dee-dee.
Yeah. And those ones are just, you know what they are. But they like I said, they have a lot wrong still. They tell them that you can catch them, and when you do, they are absolutely spineless and will turn tail and run. The Eldar can see the future. You're not catching them.
Nope. Well,
nah.
Not all of them.
Enough.
No, okay. Never mind.
Because the craft world have redirected whole wars to protect themselves. And what are you going to do? Get the drop on the Eldar in their pocket dimension of pain?
No.
So
no. Yeah, no.
Right?
No.
It makes sure to mention that they are long-lived and cunning. But this is not down to any store of nobility or purity. It was a fluke, random. There's nothing special about the Eldar at all that's different from you. They're worse in every way. They just happen to live longer because, I don't know, cosmic rays, don't think about it too hard.
With their agedness, you could explain to them the concept of twink death and how close they are to it, and they die immediately.
The thing that cracks me up is how they mention Eldar craftsmanship is inferior to Imperial craftsmanship. Just not.
No.
So
no.
It describes their bodies as brittle and easily broken, which to a space marine, yes.
Yeah. To a guardsman,
no.
It's like they're somewhere between your average human and a guardsman.
Yes.
Yeah.
It posits that an average human can break them with a swipe of their las gun. Your average human couldn't perceive them.
Yeah. Good luck.
So, like, getting a swipe off with your las gun, true or not? No.
You'd be lucky to bunt an Eldar.
And the way they deal with the speed is by mentioning that their swift movements just get them into your hands sooner. And once they're in your hands, you can break them in two with a litany of revenge on your lips.
No.
Yeah. This is true. The Eldar will leave if the fight's just not going their way, but also they will not enter the fight if it's not going to go their way.
Yeah, because they will have seen, this is not going to go my way, and then to redirect the fleet
A lot
entirely.
of the time they will do that, yeah. They do mention the fact that they are going extinct. Their time is past, and they are running from something. And that something is the might of the Imperium, for in it they see their own doom.
Yes, not the thing that they're actually running from.
Slaanesh does. I'll tell you this for free. Chaos does not get a mention. It is just impure thoughts. Don't think them. That's how they deal with the topic of chaos.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
I see.
Don't have bad thoughts, citizen. And it won't.
Just think of the Emperor.
Just think of the Emperor. Is there a third person you forgot to ask at all times? And it's Big E. Their technology is overly complex and not that much faster than the gear we have.
Not that much faster.
Not that much faster.
Not that much faster. Still faster, but not that much faster.
Moderate speeds at best is what they said.
Oh, okay.
They describe their aspect warriors as having very emotive names like Striking Scorpion and Howling Banshees, Fire Dragons. But they're just to intimidate you. Don't worry about them. These techniques are only good at one thing, and they have a dozen other weaknesses for you to exploit. Unlike the divine adaptability of man, these creatures are boxed into one function, ripe to be taken apart. Again, something useful there, like the fire dragons using flamethrowers. Good to know.
Yeah.
The divine adaptability of man ain't doing much against that.
No. Well, we've already seen what flamethrowers do to us. It's not good.
Mm-hmm. Now imagine a flamethrower attached to the fastest thing you've ever seen.
Yeah.
And they're slow by Eldar standards.
Well, but still.
But still, it doesn't.
Still.
Your guardsman's so hosed.
Nope.
Eldar defenders are those Eldar rounded up to fight. They're not natural warriors and are often mystified by the roar and confusion of battle. Treat them like errant children.
No.
That Eldar defender, who's an errant child, has lived 5 of your lifetimes.
Yeah.
Just, no.
Well, okay, 5 of your lifetimes if we're assuming that the guardsman is living to 100 years old. They're not.
No, they're not. No, they're not at all. And
so let's throw a couple other figures in there. I don't think we're getting a single digit answer out of this.
But then they're never gonna live long enough to notice that. So don't tell them that. They're kids. Don't worry about that. Don't think about it too hard. And then the Xenos threat.
The one situation where it's okay to say, no, I get they look like a child, but they're like 500 years old.
Oh God.
The one situation where it's okay to say that. No other situations.
Yep.
That's not an excuse.
Yep, that is exactly how they go. The general consideration, should any new Xenos appear, is to keep in your heart.
Is this the first contact protocols?
Yeah, in case we meet new ones. You gotta leave a chapter here, because think about it. There are people out there in canon with this variant, not the Damocles version that has the Tau in them.
Yeah.
So there are genuinely guardsmen out there who may not know the Tau exists. So you need a chapter that's just... So you found a new alien.
If you found something new, I assume it's just gunned them down.
So you found blue. What to do in that situation? And it is to remember that you are a member of mankind, headed by the immortal Emperor, the rightful heir to the galaxy. He holds dominion over all races and creatures, and they are all so much less than he. He gives you the inalienable right to assert control over his domain with rifle, tank, fist, and sinew. Without mercy or compassion, you have to fight to survive and uphold what is unarguably your rightful place at the top of existence.
I see, it is just gun them down.
Yes.
With whatever gun you happen to have.
Yeah, if you bump into any of these vast, lesser species, book's words, not mine, they are undesirable elements and they are your enemy by default.
By default.
Your vigilance is demanded by the immortal Emperor.
How?
This book is... This is why it is described as the most brutal regime imaginable.
Yeah.
Because this stuff's in there.
You meet a new person.
Everywhere.
You meet a new person.
Shoot them.
And the first thing you're told is stick a 9mm in their face.
Yep. That is your protocol for somebody new who looks different. Fire at them. Rat on your neighbor if they think wrong. I don't know what thinking wrong means, but yeah. And this is why whenever I get the question of why doesn't the Imperium just collaborate, this is what most of them are told.
Yeah.
They are told.
And good luck pulling back on that, even if you decide you do want to collaborate with someone. Like, you've spent how many thousands of years just like...
Minimum 10.
Putting this out to people, and then you're just like, never mind.
No, how do you never mind?
Not even considering the logistics of how are you going to get that message to everybody, because I assume this barely makes it to everybody.
You get it, standard issue. Like there are forms in here you fill out, like when you join the guard, and there's like your death certificate is included in the book if I remember correctly. So like when you die, people just pick up your primer and give
just
it to the guardsman.
Fill it out.
Yeah, here it is. Your supply and equipment request forms, your ammunition request form.
Is there a way to photocopy these just in case? Because I want to tear them out and use my master copy.
Oh gosh,
or they're
probably
duplicates.
And then forms to notify that your stuff's been damaged, requesting new kit, loss of your kit. Like there's
God, does the Imperium even have photocopiers?
I'm sure there's a servitor for that. I'm sure they have it because, of course, even the printers suffer.
Yep.
And so, yeah, how do you take back a book that says like all aliens are unclean, untrustworthy, faithless heretics, weak of mind and body, lacking in spirit, for the immortal Emperor does not shine on them?
You simply don't,
and they deserve nothing more than slavery or death.
Jeez.
Yeah.
You simply don't take that back.
And
you can't.
Like, no wonder this thing is spasming and dying. How do you come back from that?
This
may be toilet paper. Somebody's buying it.
Yeah.
Somebody's buying into it.
Listen, no man is an island, and no mankind is an island, and you have de facto just worked to do nothing but make yourself that. Oh, oops.
And again, you must always end with the alien and the white hot heat of a las round will be enough to end them. You got to remember that. The lasgun's perfect in every way.
Yep. The little flashlight.
You must annihilate them with a prayer on your lips.
Yup.
And this is why, for all the like weird little like races that run around that aren't like quite full-fledged factions per se, because there are like a bunch of weird things running around that aren't big enough to be like a problem, but they aren't, like non-existent.
There's like Civ city-states running around. There's like endless space minor factions.
It's why the Imperium would see like the kin, shorter, fatter men, alien, kill it. Mm-hmm. That's the game plan.
It looked different.
It is just too short. 5-5. Sorry. And like shot on sight over that. They should. There's no reason when you have actual Tyranids beating down your door, you should be concerned with the people that have their backs pressed against the curb. Mm-hmm. Like that's just so revel. Like leave the shore.
Don't steal a Drake bar for this. Don't steal a Drake bar for this.
He lost. A good short joke is always appreciated in my book. A good short joke always flies. Like you gotta leave the shorties be. Like there is no need for the height chart to factor this much into their decision making, and yet, sorry alien, there's a chapter for this. Sorry Bucko, with your haircut tops your 5'8". It's not acceptable.
There's a joke to be made about dating habits in this.
But like, it is so funny, but also I love this book for that. Again, it's that reason of this is why. Mm-hmm. This is what, bare minimum, some guardsmen believe, and most wipe with.
Yeah.
And that's something to remember whenever you consider, well, why did he just not even say hi to the Tau guy who showed up and
he just stuck a 9mm in her face and
it's a las gun. It's the holy las gun.
Who knows? Maybe the las gun is 9mm around the beam it shoots forward.
Trust me, we have this. We have it somewhere. It's known. It's not 9.
No.
I'll tell you that for free right now.
Bigger or smaller?
Gut says bigger. I'm not sure why, but Gut says bigger.
Well, looking at the
look at the art. Look at the thing. The las
nozzle.
The las gun's not small.
Emitter is the correct word. Looking at the emitter, it is pretty chunky.
In the hands of the guardsman, you see it's not small. Mm-mm. Like so, I would be very surprised if it's only 9. Mm-hmm. Like it's got to be larger than that.
Well, they've got las pistols.
It's just a las gun
shrunk
pretty much. They've really figured out this whole las gun.
It's a las gun stuck in cold water.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I hate that. And then lastly,
it's just cold. Leave me alone.
Lastly, corruption and the dark forces.
I thought you said we weren't going to talk about chaos with this book.
I don't think I said chaos, did I?
Oh,
I merely said corruption and dark forces, which this chapter just boils down to only weak-minded fools respond, so don't respond. And if you have responded, you are now a once person.
Once person.
Yeah.
A once person?
Yep. You are now a heretic, a once person, and you will be fought by the pure and clean who fight a constant war against this most hateful of enemies.
Once person is insane.
Yeah.
Once person?
Yep.
Whoa.
I think I have done a poor job of really explaining what the brand heretic means. I think the phrase one person just did that. Once person just did that.
Yeah.
Do you see why you do not want that badge?
No.
Under any circumstances.
Once person.
Yes. Any sense of previous loyalty to those who may have been your friends must be forgotten. They are now low creatures, turned and forever lost to you, forfeited their humanity, their abominations, filth, crusted mucus to be wiped clean and flushed away. Yeah. Like I said, a lot of this feels like you just substitute some words and ship it back to the 40s and it works.
Yeah.
Like it is.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
It's insane.
The most brutal regime imaginable. Mm-hmm. It means it has to top the regimes we've seen thus far. Mm-hmm. we've seen some wacky ones. We've seen ones where you look nerdy. Sorry, bucko. Like you are wearing glasses. That would mean death.
Yeah.
For no reason other than you might be educated.
We used to smite lefties.
God, that's so funny. Sorry, but like that's so silly.
We used to smite lefties.
Like that being a reason to smote another. He's writing with his left hand. Once person.
I think the excuse was literally, you are afflicted with some form of demonic influence.
Why else would you be writing with your... What is it? I think... Is it God... the hand of creation is his right hand, and the left hand of destruction? Am I getting that correct? Hold my page real quick.
I will hold the page for
a moment. While I consult with the oracle.
I'll perceive the page.
I think is it the left hand that's destruction? Okay, I dug it up, and it does seem like it's the left-handedness has been associated with the devil. Apparently, he was a lefty.
Yeah. You were writing with your left hand. The only reason that you could possibly have that happen to you is...
And it's also how he would summon demons, apparently, with his left hand, and so it's very much so like you are associated with the devil.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also the demon sits on your, like, the whole angel and devil on your shoulder.
Yeah,
devil's always on the left shoulder.
Well, if you look at like
and you throw salt over your left shoulder because that's where the devil would be.
If you look at like classical like Christian art from back in the day, you always see Jesus in the prayerful pose doing this, and then when you see Baphomet, it's always alternated.
Yeah, and so like it's the same kind of premise, but just like we now have bugs that spit acid and we have to adapt to this premise. But it's kind of shocking how
I was looking at that and
it works.
They have like little they have like little like the best word for this is chibi portraits of demons.
No. They're very look at how frankly cute the Tyranids
they made them look cute. They're not terrifying. Look at this adorable thing. Kill it.
Juxtapose it with the art.
I love this. Puny claws, short multi-jointed limbs, short muzzle, unstable legs. Love that.
Unstable legs. They can climb any surface.
How can a man fear such a creature?
Again, they can climb any surface.
Oh, I don't need reaffirming on how terrifying the Tyranids are.
Yeah, and so it even has like a little series of like how to know if your neighbor is turning to chaos, but without saying chaos. And
do you see purple?
No, it's just like, do they seem like they can guess the future? Do they finish your sentences? Don't waste another second. Fire at them immediately. It's that minor.
Huh.
Yep. And you can rest easy knowing you served the Imperium well.
I see.
Yeah. And then there's a whole section on unsanctioned psychers. Like, did he scratch wrong? Shoot him.
Did he scratch wrong?
Yeah. Like, it says here, if you do not find them near the guards that they are supposed to be near at all times, fire at them. That's not normal.
They've escaped. They've
clearly
containment.
escaped containment, and definitely not just on a bathroom break. But yeah. Let's see. Imperial Infantryman's Uplifting Primer.
Did they wipe with their right or left hand? You must hold a gun to them and ask them.
And find out. Yeah. What did you think of the?
I now have
There's so much art.
I now have a new context for the level of propaganda that.
And again, this could be a whole episode. This could be a whole thing where we just dive into Imperial propaganda.
Considering,
think about this is the Guard. Mm-hmm. This isn't the Sisters.
Yeah.
I would love a very...
Well, considering we didn't cover the Guard in and of themselves. We just covered how are the Guard told about their enemies.
Yep.
I assume there's several of the things in there, just like what equipment they have going on, what specifically they've been told about how the Imperium works. Mm-hmm. I bet there's a lot in there we could discuss.
Yeah, they have
and
like
also just be absolutely terrified of.
Yeah, they have all of the gear you could possibly have, all of the weapons you could possibly find yourself using, all the medals you could earn gloriously. They have tons and tons of shots of guardsmen critically not winning any battles, but just kind of charging in. Like, there's a lot of art of guardsmen.
They're not technically lying to them there.
Right? It's just like, hey, look at you starting. They have like little excerpts from great guardsmen. Like, you will find one from, oh gosh, Yarrick in here. Like great guardsmen and commissars, which are just like effectively, keep it up, you got this. Like little words of encouragement. There's a lot of really, really fun stuff, and this book takes itself seriously to a frightening degree.
I mean, it kind of has to. Somebody at Games Workshop literally like ripped a portal into the universe they're creating and just like grabbed this from some poor guardsman satchel.
And that's the theory behind it, you know? And so that's why, despite the vibe you can get from this book at times, I quite like it, because it would be kind of wild if it came back and it was perfectly normal and sane, you know? I mean, for God's sake, they have a double, like, look at the eagle. Look at the eagle. Right?
Double-headed eagle. Who else has that?
Right. No, they had the single one.
Oh,
No, it was a single one. They didn't use a double-headed
I thought it was a double one.
No, I'm fairly certain it was a single eagle.
Oh.
I can find out. No, it's like I said, single eagle.
It's a single.
It's a single eagle, but like it's very much so, like, again, it's in the opener. You know exactly what it is, and so it's very. I kind of want these for the rest of the factions now, because I'd love to see how
the Eldar think of humanity.
Really, I want the Eldar and the Necrons take on this. Like the Necron basically manual that's programmed into every single one of them.
Yeah.
I'd love the Eldar's variant, because they suck too. They're terrible for their own reasons. The Eldar one would just be the worst, I think.
Yeah, because the Eldar, they have the worst of both worlds, where they're just like,
what?
They treat you awful.
Well,
and they're also like prissy, like upturned nose at pretty much everybody else.
It's the fact that they say monkey more than Ruckus and Frieza combined. So that one would probably read so badly, Games Workshop would never do it.
Ooh.
Games Workshop would never.
That
dare.
That has an energy about it.
Yeah, there's like, this one is almost there, right? But they get away with it because you will just see an orc right next to it, like an Eldar, right?
Yeah.
Or like quite literally like a weird blob of chaos.
I think I would rather see the the orcs take on this.
Oh, the orc one would be fun.
I'd love to see an orc infantryman's handbook.
Yeah, I wonder. And so, like, stuff like this, I do like it when it's just super duper serious. I want one from like the Inquisitors. I'd love to see just. Please give me a little manual that comes with every Inquisitor that tells them everything they can do, because I want to be more terrified of them. You know, I would love that, but they don't do that very often. Sadly.
The Inquisitors do very much seem like they were shown this book. They were like, "See the rules," and then it was thrown back, and there are no rules.
Pretty much. And so I've always loved it, and I also love this kind of stuff because it's. 40K can get pedantic. I mean, for God's sake, it's a fandom where we argue about height. On the real, dude, this is a thing that is debated. Magnus's height is a topic of hot contention.
Doesn't change every half second.
Doesn't matter. People will still debate it.
He's he's a weird psyker. I think he'd be the type to just change it.
I could say Space Marines are 6 foot tall, and I know I'm going to get a comment about it. I know they're not, but
that's as tall as me.
Yeah, no.
That's shorter than me.
Yeah, I know.
I'm taller than a Space Marine.
No, you're definitely
This is
not.
Canon now. Nobody can tell me I'm wrong.
Exactly. And so, like, it's the thing I love about it is how there is a flowchart. There is genuinely a command structure. There are ships that the Imperium would use quasi-consistently, you know? The numbers are dodgy because, like, every Space Marine ever will be somewhere, and then there'll be, like, 1 million Guardsmen. And you'd think, like, the ratio would be every Space Marine ever is there, and then every Guardsman ever is there, you know? Like, trillions of Guardsmen, but other than the numbers being wacky, the pedantry is part of the fun, and I love books like this because they frankly enable it. You know, it's like I now have something I can open and go, this is the command structure circa whenever this was printed in canon.
This is,
you know,
this is the citation part to my 14 paragraph essay in the comments of a YouTube video.
The year 945 of the 41st millennium. I know exactly when this is relevant in canon. You can't fight me on anything that happened on M41 945. In this book specifically. I love that.
Wouldn't that be No, it'd be 41.
So it'd be the year 41,945.
No, it'd be 40,000.
No, 41,000. M41.
No,
the 41st millennium.
No, the millennia are off by 100, not 1,000 years. Whoops.
Yeah, so it'd be 41,945. I think
it would be 40,000 40,999. No, 40,900.
Somebody will tell us. I will always defer to the comments when it comes to pedantry. And so I do love books.
No, that's centuries. That's not millennia that are off. So it would be the 41,000.
Gee, it's almost like I said that.
Shut up.
I like books like this for that reason. I love things that give breakdowns on the
Mans says he loves the pedantry and
on the surroundings.
When he is given some pedantry, just doesn't take well to it.
Yes.
So do you love or hate the pedantry?
Anyway,
we're gonna get pedantic about
it is.
your
we're not getting into the pedantry of my pedantry. I love the circumstances that surround the setting just as much as what is happening within the setting. You know, because you see this book, you get a lot of stuff. You understand how the guardsmen behave the way they do. You know, and I feel like that's something a lot of the factions lack at times, because I mean we do get that in some ways, because like when you get a book from a Black Templar's perspective, you realize like, you really took this seriously.
Yeah,
you took this very seriously.
You took the title of Templar and you kind of ran with it.
But seeing the rules as written is very telling sometimes, despite the fact, you know, most of these aren't followed. A lot of this isn't used really, but it's like seeing the framework upon which the empire is built, and you can get a very good sense of what's going on.
It's like, you know, when you're like a longtime patron of a specific restaurant, and then you decide, oh, I would really love to work for these guys, and then you get hired on, and then you actually see the handbook, the procedure, the everything,
how the sausage is made.
And then you slowly, over time, as you work this job, realize that nobody follows this, and there's no reason to actually follow it.
Yep.
And
that's what the handbook is.
That's what the handbook
figured it out precisely. And so that brings an end to the first of our kind of book-related ones. I don't know. We'll see if maybe this becomes a thing. It's up to you guys.
I think it would be very cool. Has the Codex Astartes actually been like written out and published by GW, or is that just something that is like Spacebook is just referenced, not necessarily published?
No, it's been printed.
It's been printed?
Well, technically, that's what the codices are.
But I mean, like an actual,
technically, if you want to get very
the
pedantic.
words of Gilliman,
yes,
on paper, I would love to see.
I believe it has been.
Has it now?
I believe it has been in the same style of very like in canon written. There's a couple of books like that are very in canon written. There's the one that serves as the most tenuous of bridges between fantasy and 40K, which I have used in a couple of episodes before, and I quite like that book.
Which one is
it? It's the ramblings of somebody studying chaos, and each book gets more and more chaotic.
More and more mad.
I love the Tzeentch one, because it just gives up.
You go off the deep end.
Yes, and so I don't know if they've actually bound together a big, like, book. It
would be very cool to see the Codex Astartes,
because I know like it's like
the in canon Codex Astartes.
Yes, like Liber Chaotica exists, and I quite like that one, but I will never touch that one.
What is that?
It's the one that covers a madman's descent into chaos, and
I see.
It does. It's tenuously canon at best. It's like
I love that very long title.
Yeah, it's a Liber Chaotica, being an account of the dark secrets and arcane law, the most terrible mysteries and the hidden truths of the Ruinous Powers. It's someone's journal as they genuinely study chaos.
You can tell that a madman wrote that because it's a long title.
Well, he was sane when he started, and he is not anymore.
No.
And I really like it because it's very like this. It's that in canon thing, but as usual, they don't print it anymore, so it's like $1,000. And so I have to use PDFs whenever I reference it.
That's a shame.
Which is a shame because I like these a lot. I love stuff like this.
The in canon stuff is fun.
If there, I'm not aware of like a true Codex Astartes that is just like the writings of
the in canon Codex Astartes
together,
because the Codex Astartes we have is the rule book for the Astartes.
Well, and there's like the Index Astartes, but like it's not the Codex Astartes, and that's kind of, I could be horrifically wrong. 40K's existed for years. I'm sure they probably printed something like it at some point, and someone will tell me, and then money will want to leave my wallet. But until that happens, I don't think it exists. But but please make it so.
If it doesn't exist, please write it. Please publish it.
As an Ultramarine fan, I would like that, and make it like, I'm not, those huge copies of the Bible you see at like the Vatican.
Yeah.
The chest-sized ones.
Are you going to replace the plaque with that?
It'd be very debatable. It would definitely be like right beneath it, if that.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the scale.
Space, we've needed to figure something out to put there.
No, I'll put something. Don't worry about it. I already have some ideas. There's an album I'm considering putting there. So yeah, I would love to see that if it exists, and if not, please just make more in-canon books. If not, like, just reissue the Infantryman's, but make it for the modern Indomitus era. I would love to see how, boy howdy, that's dealt with.
Yeah.
But that does bring an end to this episode. As always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you sound off in the comments with one of your four choices. You can vote up to 3 of them. If you vote on the 4th, I don't count it. And let us know what you think about more book-oriented episodes. Maybe we'll do like a full book club. Maybe we won't. I feel fine doing it here by virtue of they're not selling it anymore. There's only one way you can get it, and that's by sailing. So I don't care. It's fine. If they printed one, then I'd be a little more dodgy. But right now, they're not. So the other authors have already been paid. I feel pretty guilt-free about it.
You kind of have a non-Tendo situation going on here.
Yarhar.
Fiddle-dee-dee.
And so, yeah, make sure you let us know, and we will see you next week for whoever wins. As always, thank you very much for being you.